Have you ever noticed something strange about money? Almost everyone dreams about becoming a millionaire. We imagine that magical day when we finally check our investment account, see 7 figures, and suddenly feel safe, confident, free. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A surprising number of people who already have $1 million don't actually feel rich. In fact, many of them are just as worried about money as they were years earlier, only now they're worried about losing what they've built. That's the side of wealth almost nobody talks about. Social media loves the victory lap, the luxury vacations, the expensive watches, the I made it moments. Real life is a lot quieter. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what actually changes when you build serious wealth, the good, the bad, and the things that can catch you completely off guard. Because understanding the psychology of money might be just as important as learning how to make it. Let's get into it. One of the biggest surprises happens the moment you reach a financial milestone you've been chasing for years. Maybe it's your first $100,000. Maybe it's $500,000. Maybe it's $1 million. You expect fireworks. Instead, Tuesday happens. You wake up. You answer emails. You take your kids to school. You make coffee. Life keeps moving. The number in your account changes, but you don't suddenly become a different person. This is actually a well-known psychological phenomenon called hedonic adaptation. Human beings are incredibly good at getting used to improvements. The new car eventually feels normal. The bigger house becomes your everyday environment. Even financial success slowly becomes your baseline. Researchers have repeatedly found that people's definition of wealthy tends to increase as their own income and assets increase. It's like climbing a mountain only to discover another mountain behind it. You finally hit 1 million. Then your brain quietly whispers, maybe I'll really relax at 3 million. Then 5, then 10. The finish line keeps moving. That's why tying your happiness to a specific net worth number can become an endless chase. Money absolutely creates opportunities. It reduces stress. It buys time. But lasting peace usually comes from knowing your life is enough, not constantly convincing yourself that the next milestone will fix everything. Here's something else that doesn't get enough attention. Building wealth is unbelievably boring. Not difficult, not impossible, just boring. The internet makes it look like every millionaire discovered some secret investment, launched a startup from their garage, or found the next crypto that exploded 100 times. Reality is much less exciting. Most financially successful people repeat the same habits for decades. They invest every paycheck. They increase contributions when they get raises. They avoid unnecessary debt. They stay invested during market crashes instead of panicking. Then they repeat that process, month after month, year after year. Imagine planting an oak tree. You don't dig it up every week to check whether it's growing. You water it, protect it, leave it alone. Investing works much the same way. Consistency beats excitement almost every time. That's why so many ordinary people quietly become millionaires without ever appearing on YouTube or CNBC. They're not chasing financial shortcuts. They're simply refusing to interrupt compound growth. Speaking of compounding, the first part of building wealth is painfully slow. It almost feels broken. When you invest your first $1,000, the gains barely move the needle. Even at $10,000, annual growth isn't life-changing. That's why so many people quit too early. They mistake slow progress for no progress. But something interesting starts happening as your investments grow. Your money begins working harder than you do. Imagine earning an average long-term return of around 7%. At $20,000 invested, that's about $1,400 annually. Nice, but not life-changing. At $250,000, now you're talking about roughly $17,500. At $1 million, that same percentage becomes around $70,000. The strategy never changed, only the size of the engine did. This is why experienced investors obsess over building that initial base. Once enough capital exists, compounding becomes the employee that never sleeps. Now here's one of the biggest misconceptions in personal finance. High income does not automatically create wealth. We've all met people who earn incredible salaries, but somehow always seem stressed about money. Then we've met teachers, engineers, military families, or small business owners who earn far less, yet quietly build impressive investment portfolios. Why? Because wealth isn't determined by what enters your bank account. It's determined by what stays there. Think about 2 neighbors. One earns $300,000 every year. Luxury SUV, huge mortgage, designer clothes, 5 streaming subscriptions, expensive vacations, credit card balances. The other earns $95,000, drives a reliable used car, lives in a modest home, automatically invests 20% of every paycheck, rarely upgrades just because income increased. 20 years later, who has greater financial freedom? Income starts the race. Habits decide who wins. Lifestyle inflation is one of the most expensive mistakes people make. Every raise becomes permission for bigger payments instead of bigger investments. Eventually, a six-figure salary disappears as quickly as it arrives. Freedom isn't created by earning more, it's created by keeping more. Ironically, building wealth can actually create new forms of anxiety. That surprises a lot of people. You'd think having more money would eliminate financial stress. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it simply changes what you're worried about. When your portfolio grows significantly, market swings suddenly feel larger. A 5% drop isn't just a number anymore, it's tens of thousands of dollars disappearing in days. Then new questions appear. Am I paying too much in taxes? Should I rebalance? Am I invested correctly? Do I need estate planning? Should I hire a financial advisor? More assets often mean more decisions. Behavioral economists have studied something called loss aversion. Psychologically, losing money hurts more than gaining the same amount feels good. That emotional imbalance doesn't disappear because your account gets bigger. In many cases, it becomes stronger. The lesson isn't to fear wealth, it's to prepare for the responsibility that comes with it. Money also changes something most people never expect: relationships. Not every relationship, but enough of them. Imagine you quietly become successful. You don't change your personality, you still enjoy the same hobbies, you still answer your friends' calls. Yet people begin treating you differently. Some assume you should always pay. Others expect business opportunities. Some ask for loans. Others become strangely distant. Sometimes people begin comparing their financial situation to yours instead of simply enjoying your company. Success can accidentally create invisible walls. Researchers studying social psychology have found that significant income differences within friend groups often create tension, even when nobody openly talks about money. That's why many financially successful people become incredibly private. Not because they're arrogant, because they've learned that transparency isn't always rewarded. The people worth keeping around usually care about your character far more than your balance sheet. Those are the relationships worth protecting. Here's another overlooked truth. Many fortunes aren't built by making spectacular decisions. They're built by avoiding disastrous ones. Think about the biggest financial setbacks people experience. Buying more house than they can afford, taking on crushing debt, selling investments during every recession, ignoring taxes, repeatedly rescuing friends and family financially, getting caught in investment scams. These aren't tiny mistakes. Some of them erase years or decades of progress. Successful investors often win simply because they survive. They don't constantly swing for home runs. They avoid striking out. Warren Buffett once said the first rule of investing is never lose money. Of course, markets fluctuate. Temporary losses happen. But avoiding permanent financial disasters may be one of the most underrated wealth-building strategies there is. Sometimes the smartest investment decision is the one you never make. So what can we actually do with all of this? Let's make it practical. First, stop attaching your emotional well-being to one financial milestone. Celebrate progress, but don't expect a specific dollar amount to magically transform your life. Second, automate everything you can. Retirement contributions, investment accounts, emergency savings. Good financial systems remove the need for constant motivation. Third, focus more on your savings rate than your salary. A person saving 25% of a modest income is often building a stronger future than someone spending nearly every dollar of a massive paycheck. Fourth, protect your privacy. Not everyone needs to know your income, your investments, or your net worth. Financial boundaries are healthy. Finally, if you're still early in your investing journey, make your first major milestone your primary mission. Whether that's $10,000, $50,000, or your first $100,000, don't underestimate how powerful that foundation becomes over time. The hardest part of investing is convincing yourself that slow progress is still progress. At the end of the day, becoming wealthy isn't just a financial journey, it's a psychological one. Yes, money can provide security, it can buy flexibility, it can give you choices that many people never have. But it won't automatically erase fear. It won't instantly make you confident, and it won't solve every relationship in your life. Real wealth is quieter than most people expect. It's the ability to sleep peacefully, to say no when you need to help the people you care about, to make decisions because you want to, not because you're desperate. That's a much more meaningful definition of being rich than any number you'll ever see on a screen. So let me ask you this. What's your definition of financial freedom? Is it a dollar amount, or is it a lifestyle? Drop your answer in the comments. I read more of them than you probably think. If you found this video valuable, hit the like button, subscribe for more evidence-based personal finance content, and I'll see you in the next one.